Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm pleased to meet you once again. If today is your first time visiting my channel, kindly hit the subscription button and become part of this family. All right. In this video, we are going to learn how to insert, select, delete, and update record in our database. Okay, and it's going to be a continuation of our 4 previous videos that we have done. That is creating a UI, creating database using PHP, creating tables using PHP, and create a connection string to our database using PHP. Okay, so if you are new to this channel, or you are already a member and you've forgotten those videos that we did, I'll put the links in the description area so that you can do a quick reference before you continue this video. Okay, so not wasting much of your time, I'll pause here and flip back to the classroom mode, okay, so that we continue the discussion from there. See you later. Okay, so welcome back to the classroom mode. All right, so before we start the whole presentation, before I say per se, we do a quick overview. All right, I would like us to do a quick overview on the previous tutorials that we've done. Okay, so the one I was talking about in the intro, which concerned the creating of user interface. So if you remember, this is a user interface that we created some time ago. This is a user interface we created some time ago. We had the header, the menu side, then the form, then the tables. All right, so we are going to build on this one. Okay, we're going to build on this one since we've already created our tables and other things. Okay, so we're going to now connect this form to our database so that when we click on this submit, the form, the data that we capture here will be submitted into our database. All right, so that is what we're going to do. So let's flip to the codes. Okay, so if you look at this left side, we have the database that we created. When I open this, the create underscore db. If you remember, we created an ABCD database. So today we are going to change the database name. We're going to change the database name to staff, let's say Peregrine staff DB. So this is a database, the new database that you are creating. All right, so let me copy the database and then bring here. All right, so we want it to display this way. If we run it in our browser and it's created, the creation goes well, we want the script to display that the database that we created is successfully been created. So we have the Peregrine underscore staff underscore DB database successfully created. We want that message to be displayed for us to ascertain that our database has successfully been created into our local host. All right, in our XAMPP. All right, so I'll run this file. I'll run this script by clicking on this, my Chrome, then change the port. Good. So now I have it created. Right, I have it created. Okay, so I'll close this tab. Close the tab. Then you come here in your database and check the availability. So we have, it goes the P column, and we have it created. All right, so click on it to open. All right, so we have it here. So we go and now import our table that we created. All right, so with the database name, let's copy it. So Control C, you select and click on Control C. So I'll go to my config file. Then I'll set the database name here from, I'll change it from ABCD underscore DB to this new one. You get Peregrine underscore staff underscore DB. That is what we have created. So let's test it and see if the connection will go through, will communicate successfully. All right, so all right, so database successfully connected. Like it shows a database in create here now. It's not connecting successfully. All right, using the scripts now. All right, so we close this one too. Then with database name, still created. Now the tables name created here. We created this one. We created this one table, staff registration table. All right. So with this one, let me just save them. So with this config file, it's here. It's inside this setup directory. All right. It's including that one. So just run this table script, and make sure say what these tables will be written into the database that you have created. So I'll run it into our browser. All right, so database is successfully connected and table 1 successfully created. Okay, so we close this one too. Then you call our database now. Then see if the table has been created. All right, so now we have the staff reg table created here successfully. All right, so let's click on the structure to see the content, the various columns that has been created. Good. So we have staff name, staff gender, staff phone, and email. So that is what we're going to play. I come to play with today. All right. Okay. So let's continue. Okay. So now the main form here is this, the index page. All right. So this is the main form. So we have the staff name here, staff registration, staff input, the staff. Let me make this capital S. Staff registration. We have the staff name, the staff gender. This is supposed to be gender. The staff gender. Then we have phone number, staff phone number, and we have staff email. Okay. All right. Then over here we have the table that will display our data that when we insert them. All right. So we will come here. So now this is what we have to do. We have to create, we have a button here inside the form. Okay, we have a form that contains that content. All right. This main form contains the main content. Okay. So what we'll do is we have to now create a click event for this button, this submit button. You have to create a click event for the BTN, the button, the submit button. Okay, using Ajax. So we are using Ajax. Okay, in JavaScript we are using Ajax. So I'll show you how to do that. So to do that, you just copy the name. We are using the ID attribute here. Okay, the button attribute. We are using ID, the ID for the Ajax. Though you can use the class too, but I prefer to use the ID. All right. So in our documents.ready, in our document.ready, we will now set the click event over here. So this is how we do the click event. So just be attentive to it. So let me just go here and switch to presentation mode. Enter presentation mode. Okay. So we'll close this. So now we are setting the click event for the submit button. So and this is how we do it in Ajax. So I bring my $sign here, my bracket, then my double quotes, then my hash. We proceeded with the hash because it's an ID. Don't say idea. It can't choose say idea. With the kind the hash the kind. Then the ID name no about me sure. We want to do it like that. When this one is clicked, the event that we are creating. Say when it's clicked. So dot click, not past tense clicked. It's dot click. So dot click into bracket, then function, then the function. So you click, okay. So the button name $into bracket, double quotation, then hash the button name, that is a btn submit, then dot click, then you bring that's a click function. So the click function, then you bring in your function in the click. All right, after that one you bring a parenthesis, that's a bracket, then you follow with a curly brace. Okay, then you terminate this one with a semicolon. So you put your cursor into the curly brace, then you enter. Okay, so this is what we have now. So we have created the click event. So when we click on that button, submit button, whatever in here should work for us. All right, so now what we are going to do is we are coming to create a variable to receive all the input from the form. Okay, so now this is how we do that one too in JavaScript, all right, or JavaScript and agent. So we bring our var variable to indicate that what we're coming to type is a variable. Okay, so you should have a syntax. So variable name, then the assignment, the operator, and the value also setting. All right, so variable staff name. Then staff name, when can say this, how I name this one. You see the S is smaller and the name is upper and lower and it's capital letter. So we call this camel casing. Camel casing. So naming a variable. No, so we have types of them. So staff name is equal to, then the dollar into bracket, double quote, TST staff name. This, then I terminate it. Okay, so this TST staff name, it comes from here. So when you scroll up here, you see the staff name is TST staff name. Then the gender is TST gender. Okay, then phone, the staff phone is TXT staff phone. The email is TST email. So I'll copy this one, the gender, then duplicate this. Okay, and paste it into gender. No, which mine say staff gender, and I say staff sex. So staff gender. All right, then now I'll go up there and get the phone number. So I have the staff phone, then I'll come here and paste it. My staff phone. All right, then I'll go for the last one, which is the email, staff email. You copy, then you come and paste it here. So the last one will be staff email. Okay, all right, in here we have to now bind it. Okay, we have to now bind it. So in binding that one, we create an instance of one of HTML5 JavaScript predefined objects. All right, so we create an instance of the form data, then use that one to we append all these variables to it. Okay, then we pass it to our URL. All right, so this is how we do that one. So I'll indicate my var form underscore data equal to new. This is how we create an instance of an object in programming. Then basically that's how we do it in programming. So new form data. Okay. Then semicolon. Right. So that's so what I'll do next is I'm coming to append all these variables to this form data. So it will be grouped as one. I like introduce as an array form base, and then I'll pass it to the URL that we define for it. What I say. Okay, so the first one I'll make it like form data, my variable that I've created, dot append. What am I appending? So I bring my okay. So if you look at the intelligence and what that one, so the first one is requires the string name. The second one, it requires the object value. Okay, so the object value here will be, the first one will be staff name. Okay, and I want to use the same staff name for the string. All right, then I'll terminate it. Now, and see, I'll make copies of them. There are 4, so I'll copy from here, then I'll paste, and I'll paste here too. So the phone, I'll make a copy and paste here too as well. Email, I'll copy and paste here as well. Okay. So now we have prepared our data. Okay, we have prepared our data. See, a capture or show number. We assume we have captured it from the form and we have organized it here. So now let's prepare and pass it through our URL. Okay, so give a space. Then we now introduce the Ajax. All right, so we say $.ajax. Ajax. You can pronounce it Ajax or anything, but I call it Ajax. It's because of the sound of the A, B, C, D. So Ajax. If you want to pronounce it Ajax, it's up to you. Nobody will come and arrest you for that. So we call the $.ajax. Then the parentheses. Inside the parentheses, you bring the curly brace. The curly brace. All right. Then you go and terminate that line. All right. You terminate it. Then you inside the curly brace. What the cursor number 2 curly brace in. Then you hit enter. So inside the curly brace, you put the cursor there. Then you hit enter. All right. Then you now set the parameters of that Ajax. Okay. You set the parameter of that Ajax, and the parameter will have the URL. Then you bring your column. Okay. The URL. Then you bring your column. URL column. Okay. Then you set the string. Okay. The URL will be in a connection string. So you set the connection string there. Then you bring comma. So we will come back to set the connection string. Okay. Then the next one will be the data type. So the data type. So if the system is to return something to us, in what form will we want it to return? So we will bring, it should return in the text form for us. Then the next one will be the cache. So we define the cache here. All right, we set the cache to false. You shouldn't cache anything. False. Then the content type. The content type, we set it to false. Then process data, set it to false. Then the data that is supposed to be passed will be the form data, that we created. Then the type of data that we are posting. You see, data now I put you as I per se pushing my URL. What form should it be? So the form should be the type, and that type should be text. It should be post. Okay, so we are posting. The request type, the request type is posting. We are posting to the database. All right. So if you have to retrieve something from the database, then cable you should get, and then they are retrieving. So, but in this one, we are posting to the database. So the request type will be post. Okay. Then, Hani define say, I don't know post icon. You see, the thing that we are posting to the URL, the database, if everything is okay, if you have a successful posting now, what should be the message that should come? Okay, so the return status, we should write something here that will enable us to know what is happening at the background. All right. Okay, so this form of capturing and submitting record to database will not refresh the page. You see, in the earlier versions of HTML, okay, but you should post in the form, so me submit this one, then it will refresh the page before it posts the thing to the script. Okay, but in this one, the page will stay still whilst these things work in the background. Okay, then the results will come. So that is how it is. It makes the work more friendly. All right, it makes it more friendly. So we say that when the entry is successful, so we bring our success here, then we bring our function then our parenthesis, that is our bracket. Then we put in here output. Okay, so the output. So we'll come and complete this side. All right, we'll come and complete the success side. So let's now go and deal with the URL, and later on when we are done with the URL, then we come and complete here with the successful messages. Okay, all right, so kindly hold on. Yeah. So I'd have to exit the presentation mode. So that I'll come here. So you have to create a new directory in our project. You have to create a new directory in a project called Hive. Okay, so the Hive is like a beehive. So in the Hive, I want you save all our scripts. That's how we save all our scripts. So you right click on the project name. When you right click, then you go to new, then go to directory. Then in a directory we give a name to that. The name will be Hive, HIV, and we press OK. So that's the Hive that we have here. So we'll go to our setups and copy the config file, the config script that we created. We'll copy the file and paste it in the Hive. All right. So we won't change the name. We'll just click on OK. Okay, all right, so we have it here. That's all we need. Okay, so let me open it and take this one off, the L side. Let me take the L side off. All right, so the reason is in a subsequent script that we are coming to create now, we will have to connect to database first to check and see if it is alive before we can now post our records into it. So since they are all going to be in this directory, that's why I've copied the file here, the config.php file from the setup directory into the Hive directory. Okay, yeah, so that is it. So now let's create something. Let me close this. Let me close this one. This maintain the data tables. So now what name should we give to this first one? So we'll create a file, PHP file. So in doing that one, we right click on the Hive. Right click Hive now. Now I go new. You go to new, then you go to PHP file. All right. To me a PHP file now. Then the name, let's call it I insert underscore staff records. Okay, staff recs. So you copy this one. You copy the name. Then you press OK. All right, so we want a clean slate here. All right, so we have a clean slate here. Okay, and we have it in the Hive. All right, so since we have the URL now, we'll go back to the Ajax here. Okay, and in the double quotation marks now, the verbal Hive now, Hive / then the name .php. So the file name is insert staff records.php. That is the name, and now I say in the way post this record we in a form data no the records in a akọ so akọ sa file way. So then we perform our logics over there. Okay, so let me make this one let me make them appear nicer. So all right, just for beautification's sake. Okay, so they are looking nice now. So that is it. What we are going to do at the back end is on this side now, we're going to receive all these entries there before we can now perform our task. All right, so what we do is, let me copy this, the first name, that is the string we are passing. So we are back now. I'll have to first include the config file, this config file. So I have to include it. So include, then bring your double quotation marks, then you bring the config.php, then you terminate the line with a semicolon. Okay, so now let me switch back to the presentation mode so that you see it clear. And okay, because I'll be going back and forth, okay, I'll be going back to this page, the index page, and back to the insert page. I think I have to maintain it this way. All right, so what I'll do now is, you see, I'll set a global variable called connection. When you go to the config file, all right, this variable here will be needed on all the forms that we are going to create. All right, it will be needed on all of them. So what we'll do is, for us to connect to this file, no, this very connection, this line, okay, this line in this form, okay, sorry, in this script, the insert underscore staff underscore rect script, no, we have to set a global variable here. You have to declare a global variable. So global, then the variable name is con, then you terminate it. Okay, so since this connection string is inside here, all right, and we have also referenced this whole file in here. Whenever we need it, it will now connect to that one and test it. Do you get it? It will connect it to that line, wherever it is. It's okay. So if I click on control and hover the mouse on it, once the member has straight, like the member table, because the table also has the same thing in here. Do you get it? And it's still connecting to the database. So that is how it works. So this one too can, but we've not connected this table there, so the concentration is not on that side, but it's on this config file. All right, so yes, declare no, as we are done with that one. So now we have to come and receive the entries here. Okay, so I'll copy this and create a variable out of it. So in PHP, any word that you see it being preceded with a $sign is a variable. So I'll paste it here, equal to, since we are using the post, so I have to call the post method as well. So underscore $post. Then I'll bring my square brace. Then I'll bring my string sign, the double quotation. Okay, then I paste the name over here. Okay, so this same name, staff name, this is a staff name, and I'm gonna paste it on. So I'll copy the agenda, then I'll do the same. So I'll just replicate this one to 4. So I'll paste the agenda here, then I'll paste it here. So in the variable, make sure you don't clear the $sign. If you mistakenly clear the $sign, make sure you bring a $sign too. And yes, I know I better trigger error or honor. Okay, so I'll go back and copy the phone. Then the last one, email. Good. So technically, you wouldn't need we won't go back here again for now. We are not coming here again. We are just going to concentrate on this main script. So what I'll do is I'll now enter into the presentation mode so that you see, yes, you see them clearer. Okay. Now we want to do an insertion, but before we do the insertion, we want to now test and see if this record is not already in the database. All right, we need to test it and see if it's not already in the database. If it is there, then you should perform an update instead of inserting. So we are doing the update and inserting right away. Okay, even a bit of the select. So we will introduce the select, the update and insert one time. Okay, so now let's write a query. So now we set the variable called SQL. No, let's make a query equal to MySQL I Okay, MySQL I underscore query. Okay, MySQL I underscore query. Then the curly brace, that's the formula. All right. Then I now introduce my variable CONN, comma, then my string, my query string. So the string will be, I'm going to select all from a certain table. From a certain table. And the table name is, let me go back to to the database. The table name is staff registration table. So I'll copy the name. I'll come back here. So I write select all from this name. Okay. Select all from here. So this is the select function. The asterisk sign represents all. The asterisk sign represents all. So what I mean is you should select all from the staff registration table where that's the where clause where staff phone number. So now let's go and see how we name the phone number field. So it's staff phone. So I double click on this one and copy. So where staff phone is equal to, then bring your single quotes. Here we are introducing single quote because the main string, the main query string is double quotes. So you can't bring double quotes here again. All right. So where staff phone equal to single quote, then you bring the name, the phone variable, you copy this one and you paste it here. All right. Then you terminate the line. So what this line means is it should now, like, before it performs the other lines of codes, it should test and see. So you try to select something for database. If I'm selecting and I find something there, it means there's a record. This record I'm inserting, the phone number is already in the database already. All right. What did that? So what I have to do is, I will say, we have update. So the system will assume that, oh, this record already exists too. So I just rather have to perform an update instead of inserting. All right. So this one says select all from the table name where the staff phone number is equal to this variable that you are passing. All right. Okay. So now let's test the condition. Okay. So if into bracket MySQL fetch ASOC, then the variable name is query. Okay, is greater than 0. Then you bring your curly brace. It's greater than 0. Then you bring your curly brace. Okay, so if into bracket MySQL I underscore fetch underscore association query is greater than 0, it should then you now put your logic in here. All right. So this is what we mean. If I say a share say your query record this query when you run this one and the record, because this we are passing this the return values into an array. So if the array, the array 2 starts from 0, you get it, the arrow positioning the number and it starts from 0, 1, 2 to n. So if the value in there is greater than 0, then it means yes, there is something in there, that record exists. All right. So we should perform something here. If it doesn't exist, then else we should perform another thing here. Okay, good. So now if we want to treat it that way, say if the record already exists, we should perform an update of the what do you call it, the record in the database. And if it exists, we should perform an update. If it doesn't exist, we should perform an insertion. So let me put a comment here. So in commenting, we bring the 2 / so I'm doing a single line comment, so I'll bring / / 2. So I'm saying if the record exists already, then perform an update query. Let me put it there. An update query. Okay. Then here too, I'll comment like this. If the record does not exist, then perform an insertion. Okay, all right. So now we are now coming to handle the update query. Okay, then update query. So here we'll write this. So now the variable name will be update. Update equal to MySQL query. Okay, then you bring the variable name TONN. Then what are we updating? Okay, so we are updating the entire record, the entire columns where the phone number is, the staff phone number is what we have here. All right, so we will say update staff, the table name staff underscore reg underscore tbl. Okay, then we set the columns. Okay, so staff reg it's supposed to be the same name as this. All right, so staff reg table, then we set the column. So we have the staff name, the gender, and the email to be set. So now let's go and copy them one after the other from the database. So we have staff name, copy, equal to, then the double quote, single quote, no, okay, single quote 2, so single quote, then comma, then we go for the second one, the gender, we paste, equal to, then single quote, then the last one, comma, the email equal to. So here we are using the phone number as a primary key, because every user has a unique phone number. All right, a unique phone number. So we will now assign this one. So we've done this. So we said update staff registration table, staff reg table, and we are setting the staff name to this new staff name, this staff name here. Then the gender will be here. Then the email will be there. The email will be here. Where, then you just copy, let's copy this where clause. Where phone number is equal to what is there. So where phone number, okay, where staff phone is equal to the phone number, then we terminate the line. Okay, so we terminate by bringing the semicolon. Okay, so we now have this. All right, so I hope it's cool. Okay, I hope it's cool. So let me just break it here for you to see. Okay, it's still long, it's still longer, but I think it's clearer. All right, so the query is this. So the update variable equals MySQL query, then your global connection string. All right, you test this one. So it means run this string on this connection string. All right, so run this string on this connection string. So it is update the staff table, set these columns. Okay, update these columns, set. So this set means you're updating the columns when it's run, where the clauses staff phone number is equal to the staff phone number over there. Okay, then let's test it. If the update is correct, so if update if updates, it should echo. In PHP, echo displays things to the browser. Okay, it returns, it displays, it prints something to the browser. All right, so we say record successfully updated. Okay, else. So the else here means if you bring your else and you bring your curly brace, that's the format, that's the syntax. So the else here means probably there might be an error. So you want to now detect the actual error. Okay, that happened for the record not to be updated. So we want the system to display that one to us. All right. So we now bring here, else it should echo the error. So error. Then we bring this, sorry. So that we concatenate the error to the string that we have here. So it should display error. Error on update. Error on update. So the error name will be connection CONN. Then you bring your minus sign, then your greater than sign. Then the error should come. Okay. So your minus and the greater than sign. Then the error, the terminate. Then you return false. So return false. Return false means as when it detects this error, it should pause it, it should freeze it, and it should deny the browser from reading the other lines, the other codes. Okay. Alright, so that is for the update. So we are done with the update. Okay, we are done with the update. So now let's go to the insertion. So the insertion happening is also like this. So we now write $ insert. So we are creating a variable called insert equal to MySQL I underscore query. Then we bring our connection variable, then the string. So the string will be insert into, then the database, the table name. So we have the table name called staff reg table. Okay, then we pass, we indicate the parameters, the table parameters. So in the table parameters, sequentially, okay, sequentially. So when you look at, I'll go back to the database. So when we come here, you see we have staff name, gender, phone, and email. So you have to make sure they follow the same way. If you mix them, the entries will also will be mixed up. So you have to follow the same sequence. All right. So I have my staff name here. I'll copy from here. So staff name, comma, and staff gender. Let me go back here. Okay, gender. So staff gender, comma, and staff phone, comma, and staff email. So those are the four. All right. Then I'll give a space. So outside the staff registration table bracket, outside the bracket, I'll bring the values and another bracket. Okay, so I'll just bring it down here. So that becomes clearer to you. So I have the parameters here, the columns. Now come to now put in the variables. Okay, the actual values that we are going to be inserted here. Okay, so that one too, I'll bring for each of them. I'll bring a single quote, then command. Then they are 4. So I'll make it 4 of them. Command, comma, the last one. Then I'll terminate the line. All right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first one, the first variable is staff name. So I'll now copy the staff name here. The second one is staff gender. I'll copy it here. The third one is phone number. I'll copy it here. Then the last one is email. So I'll copy it here. Then I'll save. So when I save, I'll now come to test it and see if it also goes through just as I did for the update. So if the insert is okay, it should echo record successfully submitted. Then I terminate the line. Else it should echo error on submit or error on insertion. Then what is the type of error? So dot conn, sorry, minus greater than error. terminate, return false, semicolon. So this is the simple code that will enable us to update and insert our record into the database. Okay, so this is the logic that you have created. Okay, so we have now tested the select, the updates, and the insert queries. You see how simple they are. So you just have to memorize the queries and you are good to go. All right, so these tables here, they are all something that you created it yourself. Okay, we created it ourselves and we are just fixing it into the syntax. So select or from table name, from what the table you created, where the clause is, where phone number is doing. So that is what we have created ourselves. So the syntax is very simple and you just have to memorize how to implement them. Okay, so now we are good. We have to now go and test it and see how it will appear. All right, exit the presentation mode. All right, however, okay, let me maximize this, then get it. All right. So over here inside the successful block, we'll bring here SWAL, then the output. All right, so then we terminate it. So what we mean is whatever response that will be passed from this page, this insert staff underscore staff underscore records of PHP. We have to display it in the outputs here to be displayed as an output into this function. All right, so this swirl over here will not display it. All right, it's a function that it just used to display its strings to the browser, right? And it has a nice way of appearing. All right, so this is how it is. So if everything here goes through, then we will now it will now display the result for us. So if the result is successful, it will display it here. If there's an error, it will display through the same process here. All right, but before that, I want us to make some update over here. So I want us to use the document.getElement.id okay, to receive the records from the screen. So we update this one. So let's make it this way. var okay, staff name. I want us to make some amendments here. Is equal to document dot get element by ID. Okay, then we bring the ID name here, dot value, semicolon. Okay, so I'll repeat for the 3. 1, 2, 3. We're making 4. Okay, so I'll copy the gender, the form, the email. Then I'll come here and copy the TST, that's the ID name, the TST gender, the TST staff phone, the TST staff email. Okay, now I'll clear the upper one. All right, so this is the new style, the new form I want us to use now. All right, okay, so now let's run it in our browser and see how it will appear. Okay, so I'll save. So in the browser, let me reload. Then I'll enter any name for testing purposes. So QWERTY, the gender female, the phone number. Let me put 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then the email, I'll just put asp@gm.com. Then we submit. Alright, so record successfully submitted. So now let's go to our database and see if the record is there. So here I'll click on browse, then voila, we have the record in our database. All right. Okay. So with a QWERTY, let's make an amendment. Like let's make an update and see if the update will also work over there. So the phone number, let me copy the phone number. Well, the phone number will serve as a pivot. All right. For it. So I'll make here KO1234. And I'll change the gender to male. Then the email, I'll bring 123 with the same phone number. Then I'll submit. So you see the message coming here is record successfully updated. It means it has updated the initial record in the database. So let's go into the database and see if the amendment has taken place. So now we have QWERTY female asp@gm.com. So now let's reload. Let's click on the browse to reload. And voila, we have the updates, the record being updated. All right. So our code there, the codes that we've written, here, handling the select, the update, and the insertion is perfectly working. All right. So now we want to now handle this place, the report side here. Okay. So we want it to be in such a way that as soon as we submit, it should load all the records in here for us. Okay. We don't want to be going to the database here to be checking the status of the records. All right. We want it to automatically appear here. All right. So now let's do that. In doing that one, we'll go to the index.php file. All right. Then we'll go to the tables column. This is a table column. So we've done the update. So I'll take the updates out. So we now come and handle the other input here. Are you following? Okay. So since PHP we have to introduce a block, the PHP block. All right. So less than question mark greater than, then bring our PHP, hit enter. All right. So we create a space. Okay. So here, let me try and bring switch to the presentation mode so that you see the text will zoomed up. All right, so here we have to include the config.php file on this session. All right, since we'll be referencing the database, we need to at least initiate a handshake first before we can proceed. So because you access the database, you say you include connection string file. So on config.php, I will say so here or inserting page So we bring the include. Then we have to go into the hive file. So the hive folder, then config.php. All right. Then we set the global connection variable, conn. All right. So now we can now bring the while loop. All right. So we are introducing something new here. So we are going to bring the while loop. Okay. Yeah. So here we are going to use the select. We'll do the select. So query. Let me say query MySQL line underscore query into bracket. Then I bring my connection string variable. Then my string will be select all from the table name. So the table name is staff underscore reg underscore tbl. Okay, so here I'm not going to add any clause because I want to get all the records. All right. So if there had been say come a specific record, and come the clause member, where clause member, but I don't need any specific clause, so I'll just make it open like that. So select all from staff reg table. All right, and then I'll close it. I'll terminate it to a semicolon. Then I'll introduce my while loop. So while into bracket, then I'll set a variable to receive all the strings, the array. So one row equal to MySQL fetch assoc into bracket query. Okay, into bracket query it should, so here we are embedding the tables into the PHP. Okay, we are embedding tables into the PHP, so we have to echo the values to the browser. Okay, so here we introduce echo the table tr. Sorry. Okay, then we go to the second one, echo td, the table data. Then we close the table data. Alright, so we terminate it as well. We have to td. Alright, okay, so we have an open. So there are 4. The tables are 4, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's bring 2, 3, 4. Like delete 5. Okay, then the last one will close echo t/tr. Close the first one. Okay, all right, so we have these parameters set. Okay, all within the table body. All right, so now here we now receive the values from the database into, we are going to split them one by one, for the staff name, gender, phone number, and the email, one by one. And that is how we do it. Since we are introducing PHP inside this tag, all right, you have to close it, bring double quotes, then you bring 2 dots, right? So this is how it reads. Single quotes, then the tag, the HTML, then you close the single quotes. I mean, we have it in here. Then in here, we can now bring in our PHP lines here. Okay, so here we'll bring the star dollar row, and since it was an array, we can now get a specific value that we want. Okay, so I'll replicate this one in the others. Copy. So the second one, 3, 4. Okay, so I'll go and copy the columns one after the other. All right, so I'll flip here, go back here, and go to structure. Then I'll get a name, copy, I'll paste it here, and I'll go to the second one, the gender, copy, I'll paste it here. The third one, phone, copy, I'll paste it here. Then the final one is email, copy, then I'll paste that one to here. Then I'll save. All right, so as it is right now, we can run it and see how it will look like in the browser. All right, so I'll save and run it in the browser. Go to the tab and reload this page. So when I reload, you see we have the record in the database appearing here. Okay, so we have when you go to browse, we have this thing, kill 1, 2, 3, 4 males, and the same thing is appearing here. Okay, so this delete will bring a button here very soon. So now let's do an insert and see. So let's do another insert. So ASDF, gender female, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then the email, let me put it kt@gm.com. All right, then save, submit, record successfully inserted. Okay, so when we reload, it will come. So okay, so we have the 2 in here displaying, so the 2 records are here. But we don't want a situation whereby anytime we save, we have to manually reload the page before it appears. So let's go and do an update. Okay, now there, after the insertion. So when it displays, after displaying the message, it should just load. It should just reload the thing for us. All right, reload the page for us. So in reloading, we'll make sure we'll programmatically reload the page. All right, by calling the page again. So we do window dot location dot reference hyperreference href equal to the page name. So let's go and get a page name. The page name is index.php. Copy. Then we put the index.php here. Okay. So that's all. So now let's go and try it and see. So we save, then we test. So let's refresh the page first. Alright. So let's save. So we have, let's say, try test and phone number. We have 1, 2, 3, and the email we have sdf@gm.com. Then we submit. All right. So that's all. So we have it here. Okay, we have a try test, female, blah blah blah. So all right. So now let's bring the delete here, then so that we can complete the whole tutorial. All right, we can end the tutorial. Okay. So for the delete button, scroll up. We introduce a button here. All right. So B button, then we close it. Then we set parameters for the button. Okay. So these parameters, we have an ID equal to. Then we bring single quotes in here. Okay. Because we passing when we click on it, it should pick the row ID, and we now perform while deleting on the row ID. Okay. So we'll bring the row underscore row, then the ID, the row ID will set in here. Okay, so this row ID can be found here. When you go to the database and you see this ID, it's an auto count ID, auto increment. All right, so this is what we are calling, we are referencing. So we have that one. Then we now set a class. So class equal to single quotes, double quotes, good. All right, so the class, all right, so the ID has double quotes, 2 double quotes, close and end, and single quotes within it. So the class 2 will have double quotes, class equal to double quotation mark. Then we bring the name, the class name is delete. Okay, the class name delete. Then we set a color to red. All right, then the z depth pt to 3. Okay, then btn large. Okay, so let me save this one and run it, and let's see how it appears. Good. So now let's go and put an image here. Okay, let's go and put an image in here. So the image will be img. So let me just close the image. Okay, so img, then you close it. All right, so the image, we have the source src equal to icons / ic underscore delete underscore forever underscore white. That is what I'm typing is an image name in the icons folder. I'll go and show you very soon. dp.png. Okay. All right. So let's save it and go and run it and see how that one appears. Okay. So it looks very big. This icon looks very big. So let's set a style for it. Okay. Let's set a style for it. So style equals width. Let's set a width to 20 pixels. Then the height to 20 pixels. So I'm making it a square, 20px. Right. So we save, then we run. Okay, so they are appearing a bit nicer now. Right. So now let's go and complete this. Let's complete this button by creating a click event for it. All right. Okay. So we'll go to the codes. Okay, so this is the entire code now. So we'll go to the code. We pick the name here. The delete, that's the name of the button. Then inside here, we bring the event, the click event. So for the click event, we do the same thing as we did for the submit. So $ into brackets, double quotes, then there's a class, so it's a dot. Then I bring dot click. When it's click, right, into brackets, set a function. Okay. So we terminate it. Good. So we have it here. This is the event that we have created. It's the same as we created for the submit. Alright, so in here, we are going to do var id equal to, we are referencing the same file, so we call this dot attribute attr. Then we bring the name id here. So it means that we should get the value of the attribute id. All right, the attribute id. The attribute id actually is this one. So you see the button, the attribute id is equal to this. So we are saying the value, you should reference this main page. Okay, and this class has been clicked. This class has been clicked. Then we have created an event handler for that one. Okay, so when it's clicked, you should get the ID, the value of that ID, right, and pass it to the destination URL that you want it to go. So that is it. So we have it here. Then now we open the Ajax. Okay, we open the Ajax. Then we bring our curly brace inside. We hit our enter key and we terminate it. All right. So inside here we set our URL. Choose something. Bring a comma. Then the type. The type is post. Okay. Then we set the data type. The data type will be text. Then the data. So the data will be, we are pushing the ID. Let me make it row ID. All right. So we are passing this ID to the row ID variable. Sorry. The row ID variable. And when it is successful, you should do something. So on success, function bracket output. Okay. All right. So so let's set the URL. All right. So let's set the URL, and whatever the output is, let's make it this way. So whatever the output is, it should just display the output to us. All right. So we bring the swal into bracket output. That's all. Okay. So we are done with the block. So this is the block that's going to handle the delete. So now let's go and create the file. Let's set the URL for it. All right. So I'll exit the presentation mode so that we can go and create the new file to handle the deletion. Okay, so I'll go to the Hive and create another PHP file. So I'll right click on the Hive and go to new, then PHP file. So here I'll name it delete underscore rex. Okay. Okay, so I'll come back in here, and on the URL side, since the file is in the Hive, I'll bring the Hive, then bring the name of the file.php. Okay, so I've set the listed the path, the URL. Okay, so what I'll do next is I'll now copy the row ID. Copy the row ID and receive it here. So as usual, I will include the config.php file. So you include config.php since you are going to do something connecting to the database. Global semicolon. Set a variable, the global variable. Then receive the variable row underscore ID is equal to and $post square brace. Then we bring the row ID now here. Then we terminate it. So this row ID is the one that has been received from this place. All right. Okay. So now let's go and write our query. So we say we are deleting. All right. So the variable will be delete equal to MySQL query. We bring our connection string there, then the string comes in here. All right, so the string is delete from the table name. The table name is staff registration table. So delete from this, okay, where ID is equal to the row ID. So where the ID is equal to the row ID. Okay. Then we bring that, we terminate it. So sorry, let me switch to the presentation mode so you can see the code well. So now let's bring our checker. So if delete, it should echo record successfully deleted. Else, if there is an error, it should tell me error on download, on delete. Then it should show me the error message. So $CONN minus greater than sign, then the error. Okay, then you return false. All right, so now let's go back to the browser and see how effective this code will work. Then, okay, all right. So let me delete the first one. So when I click on this, it tells me record successfully deleted. All right, so let me reload it and see if we'll still find. Oh wow, voila, it's gone. Okay, so let's convert the manual reload to programmable reload. So I'll exit the presentation mode once again. Then copy this line, bring it back here. I save it. Then I go back. I'll reload the page. Then delete this one. I'll delete the first one too. See, it's gone. All right. So then I'll delete this last one too. So we don't have any record in the database now. So you see how the delete works. So nice. So now let me put in figures here, real data. So mail, the phone number, then the email, then I'll submit. As soon as I submit, I have it here. And I can easily delete it. When I click on this delete, it's gone. Voila. So this brings us to the end of this presentation. Okay. So I'll thank you all and I'll urge you all to practice it. Okay. If you have any questions and you need any further clarification, just drop them in the comment box and I'll respond to them accordingly. And if you are new to this channel and you are interested in what we've done so far, more subscribing mine. Okay, just hit on the subscription button and become part of the family, because there are more for us to teach. So in the subsequent videos, I'll be picking model by model, how to get menu for the header, how to create a login page, and teach you some intro to PHP, the PHP programming and Casa, the PHP language. I'll teach you how to do it. Then we move to Python. Okay, so we're teaching Python too very soon. All right. So now, therefore, as my mentor would say, thank you for being with me through the tutorial.